Hello students, this lecture is about application of writing electronic configuration. So what is the prerequisite for this chapter? You must be aware of how do we write the electronic configuration using SPDF method. Now in this lecture we will see the application of electronic configuration. This comes under the basic chemistry only, which is going to help us in many other chapters to come. And this is also important. This understanding of this topic is important from an SCJS point of view once again. And if you are aspiring for NEET or ITJE in future. So let's see quickly, let's jump to the topic. What are the applications of writing electronic configuration? So first application that we are going to see is you can find the valence shell using the electronic configuration. Now, what is valence shell? So valence shell is the shell with highest value of principal quantum number. I hope you are already aware of principal quantum number. If you are not aware, refer to the lecture electronic configuration uploaded on the channel. So shell with the highest value of principal quantum number is going to be called as valence shell. Or can we also say that any shell with the highest value will be the outermost shell also. So valence shell are also the outermost shell. So valence shell are they will have the highest value of the principal quantum number, or we can also call it the outermost shell. Let's try to understand it through few examples. So for example, lithium atomic number is 3. If you write the electronic configuration, you are going to see 1s2 2s1, that is the electronic configuration of lithium. You see that second shell, you have two shells over here, first shell and second shell. What are the values of principal quantum number for these two shells? You know that the principal quantum number denotes or indicate the shell number. So for first shell, the value of principal quantum number is 1. For second shell, the value of principal quantum number is 2. What is the highest value of principal quantum number over here? Is that 2? Yes, 2 is the highest value of principal quantum number for lithium. That is why second shell is the valence shell for lithium. VS is valence shell. Similarly, let's write for calcium, atomic number 20. If you write the configuration, you are going to have 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6 and 4s2. What do we see? This is first shell, this is second shell, these two subshells belongs to third shell, and this one is fourth shell, right? Which shell has the highest value of principal quantum number? Of course, the fourth shell, right? So valence shell for calcium is going to be the fourth shell. So finding the valence shell is quite easy. Let's see one more example. Iron, atomic number 26, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2 and then 3d6. Now, don't confuse the outermost shell with the last subshell written in the electronic configuration. No. If you go by that, that will give you the wrong answer. Why? See, remember, this is written according to the Aufbau's principle, or according to the rule that electrons fills up the subshell in increasing order of energy. This is just the energy order. This is not the shell order. That does not, 3D is coming last, that does not mean that third shell is the outermost shell. How about the fourth shell then? Right? So you will always look out for the shell with the highest value of principal quantum number. So over here we see this is first shell, second shell, third shell. This also belongs to third shell only. But this one with the principal quantum number value 4 is the highest value of principal quantum number for the shells of iron. That is why valence shell of iron will be fourth shell, not the third shell. Remember that. So that's how you find the valence shell for any element. Just write the electronic configuration and just look out for the shell with the highest value of principal quantum number. Now, second thing that you can find using the electronic configuration is valence electrons. Now, what are the valence electrons? As the name suggests, you are already aware of valence shell. So, valence electrons are nothing but the electrons present in the valence shell. So, they are electrons in valence shell. Remember, knowledge of having the knowledge of valence electron is very important, because these are the electrons which participate in a chemical reaction, right? So we already know that valence electrons participate in a chemical reaction, so we can also write it in a note that valence electrons participate in a chemical reaction. CR is chemical reaction over here. Okay, how do you find the valence electrons now? So let's try to understand it through few examples. Let's take the examples of nitrogen, atomic number 7, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. If you want to find out the valence electrons, you must be aware of valence shell. So let's find the valence shell first, right? So valence shell is the second shell, there is no doubt about that. So valence shell is the second shell. Now, how many electrons are there in the second shell? In the second shell, you have 2 plus 3, total 5 electrons. There are 5 electrons in the second shell. That is why the number of valence electrons for nitrogen is 5. Let's take another example. Chlorine, atomic number 17. Write the configuration: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. We can say now that valence shell is the third shell. In the third shell, you have 2 plus 5, total 7 electron. That is why the number of valence electron for chlorine is 7. Similarly, for iron, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, and then 3d6. Valence shell is the fourth shell, and the electrons in the fourth shell are 2. That's why number of valence electron for iron is 2. That's how you find the number of valence electrons. If you have the knowledge of valence shell and valence electron, that can have many uses. We'll see those uses also very soon, but currently we are seeing the application of electronic configuration. So let's complete that first. Third application is, you can predict the block of an element in periodic table. PT is periodic table. Now, what do I mean when I say block? Remember that we will deal with that in the periodic table chapter also. So remember that the periodic table, the elements are divided into 4 blocks. The periodic table itself is divided into 4 blocks. It's S block, P block, D block, and the F block. These 4 are the blocks of the element, right? So if you consider the periodic table to be a society, in the society you might have seen block A, block B, block C, block D, right? Similarly, a periodic table is also divided into 4 blocks: S block, P block, D block, and F block. How do you identify the blocks of the element? The blocks of the element is identified by looking at the electronic configuration and finding out which subshell contains the last electron. Where the last electron is entering, that will decide the block of the element. For example, if the last electron enters in S subshell, we will call it S block element. If last electron enters in P subshell, we are going to call it a P block element. If it enters in D subshell, D block element. Similarly, if it enters in the F subshell, we will call it F block element. Fine. Let's see few examples. Sodium, atomic number 11. If you write the configuration, you find it's 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, and 3s1. What do we see? Where do the last electron enter? The last electron is going in S subshell. 3s is S subshell belonging to third shell, right? So sodium is a S block element, no doubt about that. Similarly, calcium, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. Where do the last electron goes? In S subshell. Again, it's S block element. So finding the blocks of the element is very easy. All you need to know is the atomic number and how do you write the electronic configuration. You should be aware of that. Then you can easily find the blocks of the element. Similarly, for p block element, last electron enters in the p subshell. For example, nitrogen, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Where do the last electron goes? Last electron goes in p subshell. That's why nitrogen is a p block element. Similarly, oxygen, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 2p4. Last electron enters in p subshell. That's why a p block element. Right? Now, for NSCJS and NTSC, S block and P block, knowledge of these two blocks are sufficient. We will deal with the D block and F block when you are studying for NEET and IIT-JEE in class 11th and 12th. But for knowledge, you can keep in mind that if the electron enters in D subshell, last electron enters in D subshell, we will call it D block element, or if the element last electron enters in F subshell, we will call it F block elements. Right now, so that is how you identify the blocks of the element. Next, fourth application is you can predict the location of an element. You can predict the location of an element in periodic table. Where will an element exactly lie in the periodic table? That also can be predicted using the electronic configuration. So you see, this is quite an interesting topic. So let's see how do we find the location. So before that, you should be aware that the periodic table has horizontal rows. The horizontal rows are called periods. They are known as periods, and there are 7 periods in the periodic table. Let's keep that in mind. And also you see the vertical columns. The vertical columns are called as groups, and there are 18 groups in the periodic table. Don't be bothered about the 2 rows that you see at the bottom of the periodic table. We will discuss that also, but remember that that's the part of main periodic table, main body of periodic table only. We will discuss that also. Don't be bothered about that. Don't say that there are 7 periods in the main body and then 2 periods in the bottom part, so total it has to be 9 periods. No, it's not like that, right? We will discuss that also later on. Fine. So if you want to locate an element, suppose an element is here, over here, how can you give the address of this element? So if you tell the period number, go to the first, second, third period and first, second, third group, will we be able to locate the element? Yes, we will be able to. So what it takes to find an element in the periodic table? All you need, all the information that you need to locate an element in the periodic table is you have to know the period number and the group number. So predicting the location of an element in the periodic table is all about finding the group number and the period number. So let's see how do we find the period number and the group number. So for period number, it's quite simple. Remember that period number is always equal to the valence shell number. Whatever is the valence shell number, that will tell you the period number also. For example, if I take lithium, 1s2, 2s1, what's the valence shell number over here? Is that second shell? Because that has the highest value of principal quantum number, right? So valence shell for lithium is 2. That is why lithium will belong to second period. Similarly, let's take another example. Let's take potassium. Write the electronic configuration: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1. What's the valence shell number for potassium? Is that fourth shell? Yes. And period number of potassium will be fourth period. So go to the fourth period, you will find potassium. Now which group? We will discuss that also. But before that, let's withdraw some conclusion about the periodic table also over here. You see that period number equals to valence shell number. Does valence shell number gives us the idea about how many total shells are there in the atom? Yes, it definitely does. How? For example, lithium has second shell as the valence shell. That means if the second shell is the valence shell, or if the second shell is the outermost shell, there has to be the first shell also. The atom will never start from the second shell, right? If the second shell is the outermost shell, there has to be the first shell also. So does this give us the idea that lithium has two shells in total? The first shell and the second shell. Let's look out for the potassium. So for potassium, you see the valence shell number is the fourth shell. That means outermost shell is the fourth shell. That means the inner shells are, there has to be three other inner shells. The first shell that you already see, second shell and the third shell. So in total, how many shells are there? Are there four shells in total? First shell, second shell, third shell and the fourth shell. So valence shell gives us the idea that how many shells are there in total, right? So we can write in the note that valence shell also indicates the total number of shell in given atom. If that's not clear to you, let me give you one more example. Let's take sulfur for example, 16, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2 and 3p4. That's the electronic configuration of sulfur. What's the valence shell number for sulfur? Is that third shell? Yes, third shell is the valence shell number. So if this valence shell number is third shell or outermost shell is third shell, there has to be the first shell also and the second shell also, because sulfur atom cannot start from the third shell. The shell, any atom will always start from the first shell only, right? So if the outermost is third, there has to be the first also and the second also. So we can see, as we can see in the electronic configuration of sulfur also, first shell is there, second shell is there and the third shell is there. So there are total number of shell in the sulfur atom is 3. In the lithium atom it was 2. In the potassium it's 4. Right? Don't get confused about 3s and 3p. Don't account them for the shells. They are not shells. 3s and 3p are not shells. They are subshells, if you remember, right? But these subshells belong to one shell, which is third shell. These subshells belong to one shell, which is second shell, first shell, like that. So can we say that since you can see that period number is equals to the valence shell number, and suppose that I take these elements: lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. Let's take these elements. Let's try to write their electronic configuration. So before that, you should have the knowledge of electronic atomic number. Write the electronic configuration. Is that 1s2, 2s1? This is 1s2, 2s2, 1s2, 2s2, 2p1, 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. For nitrogen, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. And for oxygen, 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. Right? Let's try to find out their period number. So for this, valence shell is 2 second shell. That's why the period number is 2. For all of them, you see that valence shell is the second shell, and that's why all of them belong to second period only. What do we see? Period number equals to the valence shell number. So can we say that all period members will have same valence shell? If the valence shell is same, then only period number will be same for two or more elements, right? So all period members will have the same valence shell, and if they have the same valence shell, can we also say that all period members will have same number of shells in total? You can see as an example, these all are second period elements, and all of them have two shells in total. First shell, first, second, like that. All the period member will have the same number of shells, right? So can I say that period number 1, if the period number is 1, total number of shell, let's write it like this. Let's make a table, period number over here and the total number of shell over here, total number of shells over here. So suppose if I say period number is 1, does that mean it has the total number of shell equals to 1? All the first period elements will have 1 shell in total. Why? Because for the first period element, the valence shell has to be the first shell, and if the valence shell is first shell, there will be 1 shell in total only. If the period number is 2, so whichever element belong to the second period, all of them will have second shell as the valence shell, and if the second shell is the valence shell, the total number of shell will be 2 shells, first shell and the second shell. Similarly, third period members will have 3 shells in total, fourth period member will have 4 shells in total, fifth period will have 5 shells in total, sixth will have 6 shells in total, and seventh will have 7 shells in total. What do we see? As we are descending down, what do we see? There is an extra shell being added. First period had just 1 shell in total. Second period has 2 shell in total. 1 shell is extra. Third, if you compare second shell and the third shell has 1 extra shell with respect to the second shell. Similarly, so can we just conclude that as we descend down from the first period to the seventh period, we see that an extra shell is being added, right? So we can say that on descending down from period number 1 to 7, an extra shell is added, right? And an extra shell is added as you go down, as you descend from period number 1 to 7, right? So we'll keep that in mind. We are going to use this particular concept in the periodic properties chapter. So that's how you find the period number. I hope the concept of period, the period members are also clear. Now we'll see how do you find the group number. We are done with the period number. Now we have to learn how to find the group number also. So we are going to learn about just S and P blocks because that is relevant to the syllabus of NSCJS and NTSC. So we are going to see the group number for just 2 blocks, right? Now group number is bit complicated, just bit, not difficult, just bit complicated with respect to period number. It depends on the blocks of the element, right? Now group number, first we'll see for the S block element. For S block element, group number is equal to the number of valence electron. That's very simple for the S block. Group number will simply be equal to the number of valence electrons. Fine. Now, if just think about this. If an element is S block element, right? Is that clear that last electron has to enter in S subshell? So last electron has to enter in S subshell, right? Okay, so you are going to find the valence electron in the S subshell only, right? Because any any shell starts with the S subshell. We know that, Any shell starts with the S subshell. So the valence shell will also start with the S subshell only. And since last electron is entering in the S subshell itself, that means there is no P, no D of that shell. Right? So we are going to find our valence electrons in the S subshell only. We'll see through examples. Okay, first thing, if we are about to find the number of valence electron in the S subshell only, we are left with just two possibilities, right? You can have either valence electron equals to 1 or valence electron equals to 2. There is no third possibility. You cannot have three valence electrons in S subshell, right? Because S subshell has the maximum capacity of 2 electrons. So either you can have one valence electron or you can have two valence electrons. There are just two possibilities. So if the number of valence electron is 1, the group number will be 1. If the number of valence electron is 2, group number will be 2. Is there any other possibility for number of valence electrons? No, there is no other possibility for number of electrons, and so there is no other possibility for S block element. There is no other possibility for group number of S block elements. So group number 1 and 2 are S block elements. S block elements are from first group and the second group. Remember, for this exception is helium. Why is it an exception? We will see that also. So apart from helium, all the S block elements will belong either to group number 1 or group number 2. Let's see few examples. So lithium, 1s2, 2s1. It's a S block element. So since this is a S block element, you are going to focus on finding the valence electron. It's 1. Group number will be 1. Right? Okay. Let's take beryllium. Atomic number is 4, sorry. 1s2, 2s2. Valence electron is 2 and it's a S block element. So group number will be 2. Now what do you see that? Since the last electron has to enter in S subshell, so there cannot be P in the same subshell, right? So where are you going to find your valence electron? Will it be in the S subshell only? Yes, it will be in the S subshell only, correct? So that's how you find the group number for the S block element. Now let's see for the P block elements. How do we find the group number for the P block element? So for P block elements, group number equals to 10 plus number of valence electrons. 10 plus number of valence electrons. Okay. P block element means last electron enters in P subshell. Last electron has to enter in P subshell. But before filling the P subshell, do you have to fill the S subshell of the same shell? Yes. You have to fill S subshell first, then only you can move to P subshell of any shell, right? So will any P block element, the outermost configuration, should it look like NH2 and P 1 to 6? What is 1 to 6? P can take from 1 electron till 6 electron, but before that the S subshell has to be fulfilled, right? According to the Aufbauer's principle, S subshell of the valence shell has to be fulfilled, then only you can move to the P subshell, and P can take from electrons from 1 to 6, right? We'll see few examples. Let's take nitrogen. You see 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. It's a P block element. But before P, did you fill S subshell? Yes, we fill S subshell, then only move to the P. Let's take another example. Let's take boron. 5, 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. Before filling, this is a P block element because last electron is in the P subshell. So if the last electron has to be in the P subshell, it can be either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 till 6. That's the maximum capacity of P, right? So it starts from P. So even if you have 1 electron in P, S has to be fulfilled, right? So that's why you see that for nitrogen, N is the valence shell number over here. Remember, for nitrogen we see second shell is the valence shell. So 2s is full 2s2, the value of n is 2 over here, 2s2 and then 2p3, it's in the range 1 to 6. Similarly for boron, 2s2, 2p1, is that in the same format? Second shell is the valence shell for the boron also. Let's take one more example. Chlorine, 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. 2p6, 3s2, 3p4. Right. Now, what is the valence shell number over here? Third shell, it's a p block element because last electron enters in the p subshell. Now, valence shell is the third shell. Right. So, value of n is 3. What is the n over here? I am taking n as the value of principal quantum number, but in this case, more specifically, we are taking n as the highest value of principal quantum number or valence shell number. Right. N is 3 over here. Correct. Is that again in the same format? 3s2, 3p4 or ns2, np in the range of the number of electrons in the range of 1 to 6? Yes. So any p block element, the outermost electronic configuration, the valence shell electronic configuration will always look like this. ns2 will be full, np in the range of 1 to 6. That we are going to call as p block elements. There should not be d over there, because if d is there and you have more electrons left, and if some electrons are there in the d subshell also, then you are not going to call it a p block element, you will call it a d block element. Right. Okay, remember, p block elements will have the configuration like this. Now if you are about to calculate the number of valence electrons for p block, minimum number of valence electron for p block can be 2 in s, and when you have minimum number of electrons in p, that will give the minimum number of valence electron in the p block elements, right? Because s will always have 2 in the p block element. Minimum number of valence electron you get if p contains the minimum number of electron. But what is the minimum number of electron that p can hold? 1. So do you get 3 electrons as the minimum number of valence electrons for the p block elements? Similarly, what can be the maximum value of valence electrons? What could be the maximum number of valence electrons for p block elements? It will be maximum when you have 2, which is fixed, in s subshell, and maximum electron in the p subshell, which can be 6, 8. Right. So the minimum number of valence electron for p block is 3, maximum is 8. How do you find the group number for the p block? Is it 10 plus number of valence electrons? Yes. So can we say that p block starts, well, where will it start when you have the minimum number of valence electrons? So can we say p block starts at group number 10 plus 3, which is 3 is the minimum number of valence electrons, 13th group, and it goes till when you have maximum number of valence electron, which is 8, 18th group. So p block elements are from 13th group till 18th group, right? One more thing to notice over here is that for s block elements, we have seen that group number equals to valence electrons, and for p block we saw that group number equals 10 plus valence electron. Let's apply the basic mathematics over here. Just assume if certain number of elements have same number of valence electron, will they belong to same group number? Yes. If certain number, suppose there are 5 elements and each elements have one valence electron, so all of them will belong to the first group according to the definition, according to the strip. And if certain, suppose 3 elements has two valence electrons, so they all will belong to the second group. Similarly, for p block elements, if certain group of elements has certain number of valence electrons, same number of valence electron, the sum will be same for all of them. Suppose there are 3 elements and each one has the number of valence electron as 4. So all of them will belong to 10 plus 4, 14th group. So did you understand one thing, that all group members, either in S block or in the P block, all group members have same number of valence electrons. All group members have same number of valence electrons, and we know that valence electrons are responsible for chemical properties. Valence electrons do participate in the chemical reactions, right? So since all group members have same number of valence electrons, can we say that all group members will show similar chemical behavior? So they will show a similar pattern in their reactions, right? So we'll keep that in mind. Now we have learned how do we find the group number, how do we find the period number. So let's take few examples to locate that particular element in the periodic table. Let's take nitrogen, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Period number is quite easy. For any element, any block of the element, period number is always equal to the valence shell number. Nitrogen, valence shell number is second shell, so period number is second period. Now, since this is a p block element, before finding out the group number, you should always identify the block of the element. It's a p block element. And number of valence electron for nitrogen is 2 plus 3, 5. So group number should be, for p block we know it's 10 plus valence electron. So group number should be 10 plus 5, 15th. So nitrogen belongs to second period and the 15th group. Go to the second period in the periodic table and the 15th group, you will find nitrogen over there. Let's take one more example. Let's take neon. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. What do we see? Period number is second. Valence electron is 2 plus 6, 8, and it's a p block element, so group number should be 10 plus 8, 18th. Let's take one S block also. Sodium, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. It's a S block element, we see that. But there is no role of block in finding the period number. All that you need for the period number is the valence shell. Third shell is the valence shell, so third period. Sodium belongs to third period. Group number, it's a S block element. So group number will simply be equal to the number of valence electron, 1. Go to the first group and the third period, you will find sodium over there. One more thing. Coming back to this, you see that all group members will show the similar chemical behavior, right? All the group members show the similar chemical behavior, and if you write the electronic configuration of noble gases like neon we have seen, other than helium, you will find all the noble gases are p block elements and they all have 8 valence electrons. If they are p block and having the 8 valence electron, so can we say that noble gases, of course other than helium, are p block elements and have 8 valence electron, and since 8 valence electrons, that's why they belong to 18th group. Now these all are grouped together, they all are noble gases. They do not show reactivity, they do not react. About the helium, helium also does not react, it's also noble gases. It's also noble gas, right? And we know the property of a group. The members with the similar chemical behavior or similar chemical properties will be placed under the same group, in the same group. Helium, although a S block element, should have belonged to the second group, but it is placed with the 18th group because all the other members of 18th group are noble gases and they do not show reactivity like helium. That is why helium is placed with 18th group instead of second group. We'll keep that in mind. So we can write that helium behaves like other noble gases in spite of being S block and having 2 valence electrons, right? So because of the same behavior with other members of 18th group, helium is placed with or placed in 18th group with other noble gases, because all group members will show similar pattern in the chemical behavior. So that's all for the application of the electronic configuration. I hope you understood. And remember, this is an important topic, although you will not find it you will not find it as a separate chapter in your textbooks, but this topic is important from NSCJ's point of view, or if you are aspiring for IIT or NEET in future. This will work as a very solid foundation for your higher classes also, or for any other Olympiad if you are preparing for. So I hope you understood. Thank you very much.